Hello. Oh, we got a poorly doggy joining us for the video. Yeah, okay then. Okay then. So I read 12 books in the month of May. I'm not gonna talk too long about any of these books because I think that pretty much all of them, if not all, featured in reading vlogs this month. We put out a lot more reading vlogs than I normally do, so I will leave those linked down in the description if you want to check those out to see more of my thoughts and feelings on the books as I read them, because let's be honest, my memory is like a sieve. This is not going to be in order because they're not in order and I would have to do research to look back at the order that I've read these books in, and that's just not my style. The first books I'm going to talk about is the Folk of the Air series. God, I'm not off to a good start if I can't even remember the name of the series. And they're also in the wrong order. So we have The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing. This is a YA fantasy series with a subplot of romance, and I would also just say that it's a very political fantasy. Do with that information what you will. If that sounds good to you, then good. If it doesn't, then maybe this series is not for you. But what you do get is a really cool fantasy world, lots of cool fae, and they're also quite short and quick and easy to read. And the romance is a really good enemies to lovers romance, but as I said, that is a subplot. It's definitely not a romantasy. So again, if you only like romantasy and you like lots of romance in your fantasy books, maybe think again about reading this. But saying that, this is a favourite series for so many people and I'm so glad I finally picked it up. Overall, this series I would say is a 4-star series for me. It's not like a favourite fantasy series, but I very much enjoyed it. I've gone a bit back and forth on my ratings for each individual book, but I think what I've settled on is The Cruel Prince was 4 stars, The Wicked King was 4.25 stars, and The Queen of Nothing was 4.5 stars. But overall, it just feels like a 4-star series for me. It's not like an all-time favourite, but I very much enjoyed it. Obviously saying that, The Queen of Nothing was my favourite book. That is the first series out of the way. I think I'm going to put these over here now. When I've spoken about them. You probably can't even see that, but hey ho. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is my only 5-star from this month. Yeah, I had some others that came pretty close, but this is my only 5-star. And that is Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. If all else fails, a Boys of Tommen book will always be a 5-star for me. Well, this is the third one I've read, and so far they've all been 5 stars for me, so yeah. Boys of Tommen is a romance series. I'm not going to go into much detail at all because I definitely have spoken about this series a few times recently on my channel. But this is the first book that follows Joey and Aoife, and Joey is the brother of Shannon, who is the female main character from the first 2 books, Finding and Keeping 13. And this is the first book following Joey and Aoife, as I said, and then there is a second book following them as well, which I have not yet read. Obviously, I just said I gave this book a 5 stars. I absolutely loved it just as much as Finding and Keeping 13. Honestly, I loved it so much more than I expected to. When it first started, I wasn't that sure about it because we were starting off when our characters were quite young. Again, I think I went into more details in the reading vlog where I read this in terms of the ages and things like that, but it does progress to a more suitable age, in my opinion, quite quickly. And yeah, the romance is so good. I love the characters so much. It is obviously a very sad, heartbreaking book, but I just feel so connected to this world and these characters and these romances. I think that Boys of Tommen is now maybe my favourite romance series. I don't know if I can say that because I do love Magnolia Parks so much. I don't know, so far they've all been 5-star for me. So that says a lot, and they're bricks. So if the length of these books has put you off, then please don't let it, because they are really quick and easy to read, I promise you. But I do also understand that these books are not for everybody, and I do also suggest looking up trigger warnings. If you find certain things in books triggering, then please do look up the trigger warnings, because there are definitely lots of difficult topics and scenes in these books that are quite hard to read about. So yeah, 5 stars, a favourite for sure. And I can't wait to read the next book in June. Next we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. This was kind of my last chance to Emily Henry because I struggle with her books. I don't think they're bad, but I also just don't love them, especially as much as other people do. My favourite one I think has been People Meet on Vacation. I did like that one, but the others have just been so mid to to me. And this book started off so well for the first half. I was absolutely loving it, thinking, oh my god, yes, like this is my favourite Emily Henry book. Maybe she is for me. However, it really went downhill in the second half. I read this in my 24-hour readathon and I share many more details there. But yeah, the second half was just a massive struggle for me to get through, which is such a shame because I was really enjoying the first half, especially the romance. Realised I've not said any like tropes about this book, so sorry about that. I will, however, tell you that Happy Place is a kind of second chance romance. Saying what I said, I still don't think it's a bad book. Like I'm not here to give it a bad rating. I would give it 3 stars. I just think it was okay, and to be honest, I just probably am not going to pick up her newest book or any others after that. I just think that maybe she's not the author for me, and that is absolutely fine, and I am very happy for people who love her books and seem to connect with her writing and her characters so much. Like, I am very happy for people. Like, please don't take this as me just trying to like hate on a popular author. I am not. I think she's a good writer. I just personally don't connect that much to her books and the romances and the characters. And yeah, this was just mid for me. I'm giving it 3 stars. That's all I've got to say. Okay, the next book is The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. This is the first book in her newest series, which is called Campus Diaries. I think it's maybe called Campus Diaries. And this follows the daughter of the couple from The Deal, which is the first book in the Off-Campus series. What are the tropes in this book? I actually can't think what they are. They actually come up with a deal similar to In the Deal, which is quite entertaining, to basically help each other out with certain things. They obviously have a romance. It was kind of slow burn, which I liked. However, as I said, when I was reading this, the book took a turn at the end in terms of like a plot direction that I really didn't like. And that really annoyed me, and that definitely dragged the rating down a little bit for me. I'm still giving it 4 stars because overall I really enjoyed it. I thought that the pacing of the romance, except for the end, was done very well. It's been a while since I've read a good sports romance, or a sports romance in general, to be honest, so I definitely enjoyed reading this. I'm excited to read the next book in the series because I've also heard good things about that. And yeah, this was just a good time. And then we have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Lakefront Billionaire series. This is a small town romance series, actually set in the same place as the last book from Dreamland Billionaires. So I absolutely love the setting. I love a small town romance. And in this we have childhood rivals to lovers, I guess is the best way I could describe it. I absolutely loved this book. It was so good. It was so much better than I expected it to be. Like, I just really connected to it. I really liked both our main characters. Again, similar to The Graham Effect, I think the pacing was done really well, maybe even better in this one. I just felt the chemistry. I just really enjoyed it. I think this might be my favourite Lauren Asher book that I've read. Or maybe Throttled, actually, I do love Throttled. But this was a really good time. So yeah, I definitely recommend, if you haven't yet picked up this book or started this series and you are interested in it, 100% recommend. I think I gave this one 4.5 stars. And yeah, a really good book. Again, it's one that's like fairly long, but it just flew by. Like, I did not notice the length. So yeah, love this one. And again, I'm excited to read the next book in the series, which I believe is coming out really soon. Like this month, maybe, something like that. And then another kind of rom-com romance book that I also very much enjoyed this month was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was kindly gifted to me by Ellen, and I'm so glad that she got this for me because it's one of those books that like I'd seen so many people talking about and I had it on my wish list. Like, I did want to read it, but at the same time I just wasn't like desperate to read it. So I'm so glad that she got this for me because otherwise I don't know when I would have got it. And I just had the best time with this. I loved the writing, I loved the romance, I loved the character voice and the dialogue in this book. This obviously, from the title, is a bodyguard romance, except our female main character is the bodyguard and our male main character is basically a famous actor. So you also have the one of them is famous trope. This was just so good. I absolutely loved it. I definitely recommend. Again, it's a really quick, fun, easy read. I just had the best time reading this. So yeah, I'm so happy that I finally read it and I'm giving it 4.5 stars. Next we have A Lone Review in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This is my first book by Olivia Blake and it was a bit of a disappointment, I'm not gonna lie. I went into this thinking it was gonna be like Normal People. It didn't give me the normal people feeling at all. I just didn't like our main two characters, and it is a romance between them, and if you don't like them then you're probably not going to like the romance. It's weird because if I think about the tropes, it's kind of friends to lovers but also kind of insta love, and I hate insta love. Anything that feels insta love is like just a no from me. So I didn't like that aspect of it either. I just didn't like the characters, so I didn't really care about it. I do think that the writing was really good, so maybe I will pick up another one of her books if anyone has a recommendation of what to go for. I've seen lots of people enjoying One for My Enemy. Obviously I've also seen lots of people love the Atlas 6, but that is just a bit intimidating for me for some reason, so I don't know if I'll pick up another one. Let me know if you recommend anything. But yeah, this one was just a miss for me. As I said when I read this, I do think that if you are going into this for the romance, don't. That's all I can say. Although saying that, I did look at people's comments on Goodreads, and lots of people did love this and liked the romance, so I don't know. I think it's probably a bit of a Marmite book, like you either love it or you hate it, and I definitely was more on the side of hating it. As I said, I can see why some people would like it. I think the writing was really good. It just personally wasn't for me. I didn't connect with it. And yeah, I gave this one 2.5 stars. Next we have A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. This is the first book in the Fate and Flame series. This has an enemies to lovers fantasy romance in it. It is actually in a world of like, rather than fae, it's more like witches and elves, which is interesting. However, I do think that there was just too much info dumping and world building in this book, especially the first half. Like, it just made it kind of slow, but I did really like the romance, and I'm excited to see what happens in the next book and where we go from here. So I am definitely going to pick up the next book. This one I'm giving 3.75 stars. I did enjoy it, but as I said, I just think it was dragged out, and yeah, I don't know. It wasn't perfect, but I did enjoy it. So 3.75 stars for this one. If you have read the rest of this series, then please let me know your thoughts on it and whether you think I should continue it. As I said, I literally have the second book on my TBR for June, so I am pretty sure I am going to continue it. But if it's not worth continuing, please do tell me. But yeah, 3.75 stars for this. Enjoyed it, just too dragged out, and you can kind of also see that in the length. I mean, it's not long for a fantasy book. It's like just under 500 pages, so it's not that I have a problem with the length, but it's just the length in comparison to what happened, that's not doing it for me. But yeah, then we have, oh, I should really put the dust jacket on this. One moment, please. Okay, so we have A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. This is a YA fantasy heist book with a couple of like romance side plots as well. I struggled a bit with my thoughts on this one because I did like it, but I didn't love it by any means. Like, I think I just veer on the side of it was okay. It just wasn't really for me. I think that like a heist fantasy is just not for me in general, or any kind of heist books I think just aren't really for me. So yeah, it kind of had a cool setting, and we have like vampires in this book. That is where like the fantasy side comes from. Other than that, it is set in the 1920s in London, which is a cool setting and everything. But yeah, I just didn't really care about the heist, so it wasn't really for me. But I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I think the writing was good. I liked the characters, but it was just okay. Yeah, 3 stars for me for A Tempest of Tea. And then finally, to be honest, I really shouldn't be ending with this one because I don't want to end on a bad note. Ruthless Vows. If you saw my last video, you will know that I decided to DNF this at like nearly 300 pages in. I just couldn't get through it. I just couldn't do it to myself. Like, I basically had been trying to read this all month, and I was really pushing myself through it. And in the end, I just decided I'm not enjoying this book. Like, I don't want to read it, so I'm not going to make myself finish it. So I decided to allow myself the grace to DNF this book. I actually started reading it physically and wasn't into it at all, so switched to audio. That's where I listened to most of it. But yeah, I just didn't like it at all. This is the second book to Divine Rivals, and Divine Rivals I absolutely loved. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It is a YA fantasy romance. Well, I would say that the first book is a YA fantasy romance. This book had a lot less romance in it, and yeah, I don't know. It was just boring, if I'm honest. and it focused way too much on the world and the gods, and I just didn't really care because I felt like we were missing some like key parts that made me love Divine Rivals in the first place, like, and that was just missing from this book. So yeah, sadly this was a DNF, which is such a shame because I loved Divine Rivals so much, but I've also seen lots of people have also struggled with this book and just not liked it as much as Divine Rivals. So I know it's not just me, but yeah, it's just so disappointing and such a shame. I hate when that happens in a series or duology like this one. It's just such a letdown. So there we have it, guys. These are all of the books that I read in May. I hope that you enjoyed all of the reading vlogs that I put out in May, and yeah, let me know your thoughts on any of these books if you have read them, or any that are on your TBR and you're looking forward to reading. Let me know, as always, any recommendations that you have for me in the comments. And of course, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to see you in my next video. Bye!